Hello, Thirstaholics. Welcome to the Thirsty Professional, the Thirsty Professional, where to get today. I cannot talk. I'm so excited I can't talk because we're welcoming not one, but 5 guests today. Former corporate badasses ready to tell it like it is. No BS as usual. So go grab a cuppa, something strong today. You're going to need it. And we will be back in a minute.
Corporate scripts, just tales explored. From passion quest to purpose found, the thirsty professional breaks new ground. So fill your cup, let's have a chat about careers, life, and all of that.
I was so excited about this episode that I forgot to take my little picture-in-picture off there. So if I picked my nose or did something disgusting, I apologize. But hello, everybody. Welcome to the Thirsty Professional, where sometimes we do weird and disgusting things. This is the place where we grab a bevvy, we ditch the BS, and we get real about careers, purpose, and passion. I am your host, Beth Ann Campbell, former corporate queen, and we're going to talk corporate today. Now full-time author and podcaster. If you are watching live, let us know that you are here in the comments, where you're from, and most importantly, what are you drinking? If you're watching the replay, give us a hashtag replay. And of course, let us know if you have any questions or feedback so we can address it during the live stream or on the replay. Today, oh my gosh, today I have five very special guests on the Thirsty Professional for this very special panel edition, Breaking the Corporate Shackles. So I'm not even gonna wait. They're gonna do their own intro. So let me just bring them all out here. Okay, we have Louise Sverud, former guest of the Thirsty Professional. Hello, Louise. David Medina coming in, also a former guest and friend and amazing guy with 2 amazing hats so far. Haleh Houshim, who is coming to us here, and I can probably unmute you as well. Also has an amazing hat. Thank you. And welcome. Haleh is a new guest on the show. And we have fan favorite Doris Walsh with one of her many amazing hats. And then finally, Julie Taylor. Julie is, I think, Julie, you were the one who kind of spurred this whole thing because it was in our episode with you earlier this year that everybody started talking about corporate. And I said, oh, somebody said we should have a corporate episode. So here we are. So welcome everybody to the Thirsty Professional. So happy to have you here. Am I missing somebody?
Yeah, Julie.
Julie, did I not push the button? Hello. Oh, here we go. There we go, Julie. There you go. Julie. Sorry about that. I lost count. Julie was the inspiration. Her episode, we had a lot of corporate talk and a lot of people were in the audience, and that's why we're here today. We're going to talk about our experiences because I know there are a lot of people out there still in corporate, and maybe we can provide some insight, some inspiration, and all of that. So welcome everybody. You know that my first question I'm going to ask everybody is, what are you drinking? So Louise, I'm going to start with you. What are you drinking today?
I am drinking from my branded cup, now the right way. What am I drinking? Lemon fizz.
I love it. And I love the pink interior on your cup. That is amazing. Okay, David, what are you drinking? David, my brother in coffee snobbery.
Well, I'm not doing the coffee right now, but I am doing a gooseberry tonic. So, and this is a mocktail.
Ooh.
We love our mocktails, and this is a beautiful little nice drink. So, yeah.
Does that have the alcohol in it?
No, I'm afraid not. This is a mocktail.
Oh, a mocktail. Okay, a virgin. Haleh, what are you drinking today? Something healthy.
Well, first of all, I started with fresh spring water, but that's what I started with. However, my favorite is the cappuccino right here.
Nice.
With an A2 milk, because that digests better.
Ah, gotcha. Awesome. Well, you know, I do love my coffee. Doris Walsh, what are you drinking today, cowgirl?
Yeah, it's hot in the UK today, so I'm on lime and mint fizzy.
Ooh, that
No
sounds fun.
alcohol. Yes.
And Julie, who is wearing in her hot weather, she's wearing her ski caps. What are you drinking today?
I've had too much caffeine. It's been a long week, so I'm just on water. I will be having a sneaky little drink a bit later.
There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. Now, Louise, you are in Spain?
Yeah,
Yes.
Canary Island to be more precise. So I'm
That's
off the
right,
coast of
yes.
Africa. So I'm a bit more south than mainland Spain.
Yes, lovely. David, and you are in the lovely country of Portugal right now.
Yeah, we're an hour north of Lisbon, close to the coast as well. So
Awesome. Haleh, early bird.
In LA, California, but you know, we can go wherever you want, right?
That's right, because Haleh's got a private jet. Doris, where are you calling or hailing from today for our audience?
On the south coast in the UK.
Awesome. And Julie?
I'm in the Netherlands, but not in Amsterdam, which I know is the center of the Netherlands.
You know what? It's just like we know that there's things in the United States other than New York City, and you know we get it. We get it. And I am here coming to you from Virginia in the United States on the eastish coast. All right, we're going to jump right into it because we've got a lot of people and I love talking about corporate. This is why we're doing the first panel. This is going to kick off next year. Season 3 is going to be really mostly, if not all, panels, and some of them are going to be really, really fun. So actually, before I do that, let me just jump in because I got some people jumping into the comments here. Oh, Heidi Medina, the lovely Heidi, former guest, friend. I think David just popped off. Did you get in trouble with your wife?
You can't have both of them on air. You'll break the internet.
Right. Maybe that's it. Maybe because I mentioned Heidi and David. Maybe they're the same person. We just didn't know, right? She says, Beth, you've always got the laps happening. And Julie is gone. I think that was when you were gone, but you are back. Now David is gone. So now we need a David is gone. And then tripping the bright, fantastic. Hello, I'm joining from the Netherlands and drinking berry mead. What is that sorcery? That sounds really good. Well, tripping the bright, fantastic. Thank you for joining and for sharing that lovely drink. Okay, now we're going to start off. We won't start with David because he dropped off. But we're going to do a quick introduction. So give us like your 60-second. What do you do now? Who do you serve? And tell me about what's the passion in what you do. And I'm going to start with you, Julie.
Oh, okay. So I run networking events. You can meet somebody online every week. We also co-work. Bite-sized learning to move you forward as a business. My community tend to be solo business owners, but they want to grow and they're serious about their business. My passion is just seeing people bloom and move forward, pollinate in the hive. So yeah, anybody that's a little bit stuck or just wants to meet a few people because they're a little bit lonely, come and hang out with us.
I love it. I love the visual too of the hive too. Haleh, tell us, new girl, new woman.
Oh, good day. I'm Haleh, and it's pronounced like hallelujah. A lot of people have trouble pronouncing that. So I'm a health span still resonance quantum coach. What does that mean? Well, the health span is your whole well-being, your environment, your nutrition, and your thoughts. So I'm a health span and a personal shopper for your well-being in your pocket, to keep it brief.
Awesome. Thank you. Doris.
Let me unmute myself. So I currently coach high-achieving parents who look successful on paper, but feel exhausted or unfulfilled underneath it all. So I spent nearly 2 decades in corporate while raising a family, and I know how easy it is to lose yourself in constant productivity. So I help them kind of untangle the conditioning that taught them that their worth came from achievement, so they can stop choosing between career success, and the people that they love, and build a life that finally feels as good on the inside as it looks on the outside.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thanks, Doris. Cowgirl. Louise, with your lovely fedora.
Yes. Well, it says here or there what I am. Trilingual virtual assistant, I call myself. That is because I am Swedish by origin, but I live in Spain since 25 years. And as you can hear, I speak English as well. So I can help solopreneurs in all of those three languages, looking after their business, growing their business, helping out with admin, anything really that you need. Social media support is a big one at the moment because nobody really has time for that. So a lot of clients want help with that. And I'm really passionate about helping those exact same people that you mentioned, Doris, the high achieving, ambitious solopreneurs who they take on so much and they are really good at what they do and they have successful businesses, but they get stuck because they are relying on themselves too much. And it's really nice to see when that kind of sort of aha moment happens that, oh my God, it can be like this instead. And it's just so wonderful to see. And I always say to them, I guarantee you, I care as much about your business as you do about your business. So I'm your business mom.
That could be a double like, because if you don't care about your business.
True.
Yeah. Mr. David Medina.
Yes, in the back. I was in the green room just hanging out. So yeah. No, but so we help high achieving entrepreneurs existing with conversations, and we help them convert into clients and referral partners. And so we've been doing that for the past decades. As you know, Heidi does that she's been doing that for decades, and now we can actually sell it and we can actually talk to people and teach them how to do it as well. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys all for that intro. Apparently, I'm looking at the comments. Apparently, there's some LinkedIn updates going on that may be wreaking havoc on some of the live stream today. So apologize if you were a victim of that. We all know when LinkedIn does updates, weird and crazy things happen. And I'm hearing stuff on in the LinkedIn feed already about people getting filtered for weird stuff and that kind of thing. So hopefully if anybody does drop an F-bomb, it won't filter it out, at least not live. All right. So we're here because we are talking about, even though everyone here has moved on from their corporate life, but the topic comes up a lot. And when Julie was on the show a couple months back, we had a lot of people in the audience in the comments talking about, relating to the former corporate life stuff. And I know most of you have told me stories about your former corporate life. So I thought it would be a great idea for a panel, or somebody did. I don't even remember who suggested it. Whoever did it did. Great job. So anyway, my next question for everybody is I wanted to kind of set the stage of what it was like for you in your corporate career. So thinking back when you were working in your traditional job, how long did you do it? What did you do? And then just kind of set the stage, especially in sort of the later days, weeks, months, years, what it was like for you. So give us a little picture of what life for you in corporate was like. Haleh, I'm going to start with you if that's okay.
Thank you. Yes, most of my life was actually in corporate. So I lived in two worlds. Here, I'm in a corporate world, and here I have this knowing that you can live up to 200 plus years. So two worlds. I worked in very high demand billion-dollar companies as a paralegal, legal secretary, executive assistant. I did it to financially survive. I was great at it, but I didn't love it. It wasn't my thing. I just did it every day, and they were so strict. Like if I would be late, let's say you would have to be at work at 8 a.m., 8:01, 3 times I would be out the door. So yeah, they were really strict. So I worked with the director, and it was intense. It was very intense. So here I'm living this life as a corporate world, which is not in alignment with me. And I'm living on this other side, on the quantum world, which they think I'm not normal. I'm like out of this world. So that was where my whole life had been.
So do you think that, Haleh, that you stayed, because it sounds like you maybe fairly soon recognized that, yeah, I'm not sure if this is for you. Was it the money?
I needed to financially survive. That was my only thing. Just a snapshot, because when I came to America, I was born in Iran, Tehran. So I came to America, the revolution happened. We literally lost everything. And my dad worked with the Shah of Iran back then as an architect. So when we lost everything, when we came, landed in Beverly Hills, and so I felt more out of place than ever, because I want to be in the mountains and the waterfall, go barefoot. And here I am putting a corporate hat and having all this challenging thing within myself that I don't fit in. So that corporate world, I needed to get best at it. So there I am being at the top, taking Brendan Burchard, Tony Robbins, self-development, and building.
Trying to get out. Trying to put a plan together to get out.
Exactly.
I'm curious, show of hands, how many of the other guests perhaps stayed longer than you wanted to because of the money or the financial stability? I know I did. Yeah. So, yep, it's pretty common. That's why what do they call it? The golden shackles, I think is what they call it. Louise, tell us about set the stage for us of what you were doing in your life when you were in corporate.
I've changed even within corporate quite a few times, because I was never really the person to follow the normal path and do what you're supposed to be doing. I did everything backwards. I was married with 3 stepchildren when I was 22, for example. And then I got divorced. So I sort of worked my way from one end to another. And the same with my first traditional jobs after. First, I didn't want to go to university, so I just took any jobs I could after school and started off in office environment, and then worked my way downwards the career ladder and ended up on the factory floor. And that's what prompted me then to go into university. And I had a degree and master in psychology and communication. And then I started working in big corporate. And I was like a middle manager for a big union in Sweden. And but I only had chance to work there for like 4 years. And I loved my job. I really did love my job. But it was high pressure and there was a lot of traveling involved, because one office was in the south of Sweden, one was in the capital, and you had to go between them all the time. And my then husband gave me one Christmas, for a Christmas present, I got a travel alarm. So that kind of says it all.
How romantic.
Yeah, very romantic. So I actually suffered a burnout before I was even 30. And I was on sick leave for a long time. And I was always pioneering that area as well, because nobody knew what it was. Not even the doctors, no, nothing. I remember the first question was, "Are you pregnant?" And I'm like, "No," because apparently you cry a lot when you're pregnant. And then I just knew I had to change my life around again. So I did. I moved abroad to Lanzarote. Well, I moved to London first. Not a very clever place to move to when you are suffering from burnout and stress. But I had to obviously just check it out and find out for myself that was the case. And then ended up in Lanzarote, where I then did work my way slightly upwards in those kind of businesses that were here, which is mainly tourism business. And I always say I was an accidental entrepreneur, because I've always said, even though I didn't fit in corporate, because I didn't like that people could decide when I had to be there, for example, was one of my really big problems, that they owned my time. But even so, I also said I never wanted to be an entrepreneur, because I didn't think I had it in me, because I didn't want to have that insecurity of the money, for example. But then the pandemic hit, and if you live in a small island that only lives of tourism, then everything dies.
Yeah. Well, and we're going to get to those great stories too, because I know you have and we'll get to it, but you have an amazing.
When I started my business,
Yeah.
and as I said, I wouldn't have done it if I hadn't been forced to it. I don't think.
Yeah, I think probably a lot of us. But you hit on a couple things. Number one is the burnout, the word burnout, which I think probably a lot of us can relate to. But also this idea that there were, I mean, I've ranted about corporate life. I wrote 2 books coming down on leadership in corporate life. I had a podcast for 4 years during the pandemic where I ranted about people that I was working under, just horrible, horrible leaders. But I loved the first 10 years of it. I would never have left for anything. So, there are many, many things about living and working in the corporate world that I did find advantageous, certainly the people. And we're going to talk about the things that we miss later on. But I want to get to now, David. David, tell us a little bit about what your world was like in corporate.
So mine started out as being a designer, and then it ended up being into project management. So I came up the ranks like a lot of us do, and and then find out that's really not what I wanted to do. So and then I just kept being laid off because for me there's a cycle of every 4 to 8 years that oil and gas goes through this cycle of. It's all dependent on how much oil, a barrel of oil is at that time. And at that time, it went down to where it should be today, which should be around 50 to 60 per barrel. And that meant half the cost of hiring people was gone. So I finally just said that was enough for me and left the country for 2 years.
So while you were in corporate before you left, I mean, were you fairly happy or fulfilled at least, or were you feeling burnout?
I wasn't burned out, but I did finally understand that my path of climbing the ladder was not what I wanted.
Yeah.
I don't know that it was a burnout type thing. It was just more of a realization of understanding that that's not where I wanted to go with myself or my career, to be honest. So
I think a lot of people are in that position. I know a lot of people. I thought I was a weirdo because when I first earned being a manager, I didn't want it. I was like, get as far away from management. And I was good. It took me a long time to accept being a manager. And I think most of the people that I managed and led would tell you that I've had them tell me that I was a great manager, a great leader. I hated it. It took me a long time to accept that. And I think there are a lot of reluctant or people who think that they're expected to climb the ladder. And then if you don't want to do that, well, there must be something wrong with you. I think there are a lot of people out there like that, but we know with great power comes great responsibility and more burnout. Doris Walsh, set the stage for us your corporate life.
So my corporate life, similar to what you said earlier, Beth, for a first decade was awesome because I didn't know any different. So, I climbed the ladder, got the pay rises and all that kind of stuff, had amazing, vacations. And I met my husband at work as well. So, which is quite sad in some ways. But as soon as we got married and then we had kids, things like drastically changed. Not at work in terms of my desire or my ambition, but having 2 beautiful but horrible kids at home. That's kind of what changed, right? Because I didn't have time anymore. I didn't have time to think. Wherever I went, I had these anchors around my ankles, right? Wherever we went, leaving the house was difficult. And obviously, kids don't do as you tell them to. So, and did I stay so after that, I knew I wasn't ecstatically happy, but it was easy, right? And because both of us worked for the same company, we moved around a bit. We came as a package, right? So it was easy. So I didn't, or Alex, my husband, didn't have to look for other jobs, right? Wherever he went, I kind of went with him, and then we came back, and then we went elsewhere. So, but as the kids slightly got a little bit older, and life got a little bit easier, I started thinking, well, this is not very exciting anymore. And my personal ambitions weren't being fulfilled. And then the pandemic hit, and then that's the next chapter.
The
What happened?
pandemic is such a pivotal moment for a lot of people.
Oh, that was amazing.
Right. Julie, what was your corporate life like, or your traditional job like?
Yeah, well, I worked in banking during the banking crisis. Does anybody remember that? Because they were fun times. And actually, I was talking to somebody about that the other day of should we say distant family member leaning into our car one day when we weren't sure if the bank we were working for, me and my husband, I was like, Doris, I met my husband at work for, was just about to go bankrupt. Leaning into our car and saying, I own you because the government bailed us out. And I was just like, oh, thanks for that. So it was stressful times because, you just didn't know what was going to happen. But I've been made redundant 3 times and it does build resilience. So the first one's awful. It feels incredibly painful and personal, especially if it's not your entire team and it's just the odd person picked out. But after that, it was just like, bring it on. Let's see where this is going to go. So, I wouldn't be where I am today doing this. And I was saying me too when Louise said about accidental entrepreneur. I wouldn't be doing this now if it wasn't for that career. So, a lot to be thankful for.
I think that's a great, gratitude and blessing in disguise. Because I think a lot of us, I know I wouldn't. I was afraid to leave because of the money. Because it's good money. I was in tech and I was 23 years in and I was managing and project managing, hated it, but it was really, really good money. And I was so deathly afraid if I had not been made redundant or my position eliminated, as we say here in the States, I might still be working there. And it was an adjustment, but it was a good adjustment. I want to kind of go into, we've already kind of segued a little bit into this. Louise, I want to start with you because you might have my favorite story of how you were taken out of your career and then kind of spurred moving on. So can you tell us the story of how you exited your corporate career?
Well, it wasn't the final exit, but I think you're thinking of the time when I was made redundant.
Yes.
I worked for a big travel operator then, tour operator, and I had worked there for 15 years, and I was a claims handler. So I dealt with all the legal claims that when the tourists fall over and break a leg, and then they sue somebody and they get money, and then the tour operator want that money back from the hotel if they fell in the hotel, for example. So that's what I did. And it was quite a lot of it. But exactly what you said, Beth, and they were doing some restructuring. So I think they were going to move positions around. But how it happened was that I was just sitting there. I was in the middle of writing an email, as you are. And my office manager came and said, can I borrow you for a minute? And I said, yes, okay, fine. Went into this room. And there's the big manager on a chair. And another woman who I didn't know who she was, but apparently she came from the Spanish head office HR. And my main manager, he just read from a piece of paper, word for word, that they no longer needed my services, etc., etc. And then the HR woman said, and couldn't even look me in the face. He just looked at his piece of paper. So he probably didn't know about it either until he was put on the spot to do this. And the HR woman said, have you understood? And I went, yeah, I've understood, but I don't understand. You know what I mean? As in, I don't get it. And then she also asked me, have you got a lawyer? And I said, do I need a lawyer? And I said, and thankfully, I come from a union background in Sweden. Here in Spain, it's not very common for people to be a member of the union, but I was. And I did inform HR woman of that, which she didn't seem too pleased about, because then they had to pay me quite a lot of money because I'd worked there for a long time. So they just wanted to check the field first. But after this, the even worse part was that my office manager led me back to my desk, stood beside me while I packed my things and left the building. Yeah. Like I was some kind of criminal that had to go out. And I stopped and I said to her, shall I finish the email I was writing? Shall I put an out of office on? No, just leave it. Yeah. I said, am I allowed to say goodbye to my colleagues? Well, reluctantly, I just waved to everybody and said, bye. And you know, how wrong does that feel? Because if I had resigned they would have had a farewell party, and we would have had cocktails and mocktails and, you know, celebrations about all the good years we've had together. But because it was their decision to get me out, I was leaving the building as a criminal. And I stood there with the box outside thinking, it's 11 o'clock. What do I do now? So
Go have a drink. You know,
I did go and buy a couple of bottles of wine, and I sat at home on my patio and drank wine all afternoon because I could.
But that tone of the lack of empathy, care, compassion is so common. I mean, I remember I had a guest last year on my show, Darren Gerheen, and he was a graphic designer. He'd been working for quite a bit. He had a company car. He showed up for work, and there were people there, and the doors were locked. And then the owners came in and said, we're shut down, and then made him give up his company car right there. So he had to find a taxi or an Uber home. I mean, just complete lack of compassion. I knew that my layoff was coming. I could smell it a mile away because I'm smart and I can see how people behave. And when I started being ghosted, left out of meetings for projects that I was managing, my one-on-ones got canceled. I smelled it a mile away, and it took about 6 months, but I already had a letter composed to all of my team members. So while I was actually getting terminated, I sent that in instant message to, so they knew that I was getting responses while I was still on the call getting let go. And they were like, are you kidding me? So I felt like I got a little bit one up on that one. David, you kind of already alluded to, but yours was a little different.
Yeah, actually, well, I have been in situations where they have somebody, security is watching you and you pack all your stuff. I have been in those situations. But my last one, they just left me alone, and I knew it was coming and that kind of stuff. And, you know, I told Heidi, well, let's leave for, you know, the country for a year, which ended up being 2 years. So it was just kind of like, I saw it coming, but yeah, it was just like, let's just go. So, but yeah, it was a little different. But you do have that rapport with people. I mean, and then all of a sudden, it's like this organism all of a sudden has to protect itself. And now we have security. You got your key cards are gone. You know, you're all of a sudden you're kind of this, like this, you know, scarlet person of, oh my God, you're a bad person of, for whatever reason, when you've just been fired, it's like, that was your decision. I didn't do it. You know, kind of thing.
You're like a leper. Yeah. It's embarrassing. And you just think like, all I've poured into this company and done, and this is, and mine was, you know, your position's eliminated. They were restructuring. They had been bought out, but there was a lot more to it. And I was eligible for rehire and all that, but it still felt like just felt dirty. Haleh, tell us your story. I know you've got an interesting case of how you got out.
Oh my God, there's so many parts to this, as I can relate to David and Louise, because to having that security when you're like so loyal and faithful and building that, you know, you're like the right hand, and it's like they don't give you a second, especially being that strict. I'm like, wow, I was just shocked. It was very shocking. So I was more in a shock than being upset or frustrated, because I'm like, I can't even say bye to anyone. You know?
Yeah.
So my at that time, actually, I was at a very well prestige cancer center for 14 years. And my body, actually, being a high performer, now this is a different job than the paralegal, legal secretary work. So at that time, when I was working at the hospital, and it was, again, it was very strict, very demanding, and a little bit even more intense than the first one. So what happened, my body was giving me signals as a high performer, but I was actually not paying attention. And I was just like, got to get the job done. I got to go. And then that was way back. That was 2011. One morning, I literally couldn't get up. I told my husband, I can't move. He goes, what do you mean you can't move? I'm like, no, literally I can, because I lived a holistic life. So what is going on? Why can't I move? Why can I couldn't function. So long story short, I was in bed for 3 months, and the medical field obviously gave me a bunch of diagnoses. It was a Hashimoto, chronic fatigue, chronic pain. We're just going to keep labeling me with what's wrong with me. Long story short, I got out of bed in 3 months, and but the point of that is I went back to work. I had to leave for 3 months, but I went back because I needed to financially survive.
Yeah.
And all of what has happened to me has a story of its own, why those happen. Well, I'll just make it brief, sure that, after that, I was never on medication. I'm 56. I've never took any medication. And because all of that emotional corporation stuff builds up in our cells and our organs, and the body reacts because intentionally I wasn't happy there, and I kept saying to myself that I don't want to be there, but I put this image of happy, and I was great at what I did, but my energy around my throat was shut, because if I said anything to anyone about well-being, I would get fired, and I couldn't, and I would see people pass away there. I would go in the restroom, lock the door, and start crying. So the whole energy of it wasn't aligned with who I am, and I kept putting it out there like, I don't want to be. So the universe listened, and circumstances came my way, and I was out of there. I went into, at that time, I was there till 2016, and I went into the field of where my passion was. I worked with LA Fashion Week as a personal fashion celebrity stylist, and I did that for a while, but to a situation that was set up for me. Actually, I was let go, and it was the most challenging thing because I was all the way at the top. But because I had constantly set in the intention, the situation just, this door opened, this door closed, and I was escorted out. So it was all a shocking transition what happened. So that's where I ended up being, and I left. And it was a very, very sad time for me, confused time.
Well, I think it's important that you really bring up something, Haleh, because when I left, when I was made redundant, and after I made the decision, it was a few months of panic, with the money, but I made the decision not to go back. That's when I realized how intensely the stress was actually affecting my health, right? And you, of course, on top of it, you were working at a place where you had to deal with death and that kind of thing. But just a quick show of hands, did anybody else here experience stress to the point where it physically affected your health? Because I know I did. I know, Haleh, that you did. So yeah, I mean, it's really, I think it's something that for those folks who are out there still in those corporate jobs, because you want to, or because you have to, but just, we feel you, because that stress is real. It really does wreak havoc. I couldn't believe, and I knew, I was an aware person. I knew I was under stress. I knew that it was bad, but it wasn't until I made the decision not to go back. It was literally like someone took 100-pound weight off of my shoulders, and it was this spiritual, weird, free thing. Anyway, real quick here, I want to just jump into our comments here, and then we'll get back to everybody else. Denise says, when I worked for Amazon, it sort of felt like I had a dog tag around my neck. I'm laughing because I relate. When I got laid off, my entire team was let go. It was an odd feeling. And yes, we had to have security with us while they cleaned out our desk. It's just humiliating. Heidi, mine came without warning in October. We're going to lay you off for the winter after having me move from North Carolina to Colorado, where unemployment wouldn't even pay my rent, much less me eating. Oh my God. Yeah. Wow. Just wow, says Denise. That's I think the humiliation thing. For me, it was being lied to. And I specifically asked, am I going to be laid off? what can I do? I even offered a pay cut, but it was just, they were just looking to make cuts. Julie, tell us about your transition a little bit more.
Well, that was the thing. When we were just saying about the sort of physical health challenges, when I got laid off, it wasn't unexpected, the last one. And I actually put myself in a situation where that part of the bank was going to get sold off. And then people were saying, so when that project finishes, you won't have a job. I was like, yeah. And it was just like, because I'd moved around so much, I was just thinking, this is about time, I think. But then after that, I went day rate contracting, which is super stressful, but it was so much fun because I was actually listened to, because I was employed for my professional skills rather than being a really tiny cog in a massive machine. I was quite a bit more expensive cog that could get like shut away after a week. So people didn't go off sick. People didn't take holidays because they said you can't do that because they'll finish you in a week. And it was just like, well, just watch me, because yeah, don't get me wrong, I went into the office with like chest infections and things like that, which I shouldn't have done. But I went for 6 months and I stayed for 3 years and I absolutely loved it. And I think that really did give me some confidence after being made redundant that I have got some skills that are marketable that people will pay for, and they will listen to me as well.
That's a great story, because I remember people when I worked with a lot of independent consultant type of people, and I was just in awe of how they just owned their schedule and and there were times where I thought, you bastard, we need to fire this guy, because he's always on the beach, but he was really, really good. And we paid good money for that, because we were paying for, again, like you said, for the skill set, not, oh, here's the aging woman in the workplace who's been here forever and has a really high salary, and we have to pay all this overhead for, and we don't really acknowledge the skill set, the vast skill set, but oh, put her in an independent consulting role and suddenly she's valuable. It's very, very weird. Doris, tell us about your getting out of the corporate world.
Yeah, so that happened around, as I said, COVID time, where lots of companies restructured, and I was put in a pool of jobs that were going to go, and I knew a year out before I was going to be let go. But during that year out, there was opportunity for new possibilities, right? Because obviously people will resign in that period, people will retire and whatever else. So I took it upon myself to say, okay, I will stay. You're going to put me in the shit pile. But I saw it as, okay, it's an opportunity. So, okay, but if you offer me another job which meets these kind of requirements, I'll take it, right? But otherwise, I'm happy to go. The following September, I think it was. And so they kept, as I knew was going to happen, different jobs came up. I was like, oh, yeah, but I told you, you don't meet 1, 2, 3. So no, thank you. You don't, no, I don't want this job. That doesn't meet 1, 2, 3 either, right? So I kept rejecting a few jobs. And then actually the final insult, right, was they offered me my own job back 3 months before I was to leave. At which point I literally told them, fuck off. I'm not playing anymore. You guys are not playing nice. I'm thinking I'm here to do, to help you. You give me all these other roles which don't meet my skill set, which is not going to provide growth. I'm out of here. And they were kind of upset with that, because they were like, oh, but Doris, you've got to take it. And I was like, says who? Make me. Watch me, right? Literally. And he's like, oh, well, but if you don't do this, you're not going to not going to get your redundancy pay, right? And I was due kind of 18 months worth of pay. And I was like, no, you watch me. I will get it. And you're going to let me go now by this point, because I'm done playing with you guys, right? And I was really, really peeved, actually. So I took a lot. I was kind of like, let's not, pull the plaster off, just do it like a millimeter at a time over 12 months. So it was kind of painful. But then the gift on the other side of that, after that pain, was, there was more pain afterwards, because I had no idea what I was doing.
Yeah.
I was like, you've been a corporate person for such a long time, and I came out of it. You had no title, you had nothing. I was like, well, who the freaking hell am I, right? I know that I'm a mom. I know I'm a wife. I know I'm a daughter. I know I'm a sister. But yeah, okay. And who the hell am I? And I didn't know. But that, was that kind of
What was
jump into.
What was the heart? Let me just have you elaborate on that, because that's really kind of where I wanted to go next, is what was the hardest part of adjusting? Because I think that was a surprise for me. I'm still, after 3 years, trying to adjust and figure out life after corporate, because for so many years that was, you'd have success, so what do you think was the hardest part for you adjusting?
Well, I know.
Other than the money.
Yeah, other from money, because obviously we got used to living a lifestyle, was the identity. To me, my worth was all tied into productivity, right?
Yes.
Making things better, making more money, making more efficiencies, right? Because that's how I saw my worth all the way through my entire life, right? The more that you do, Doris, the better it is, right? And the more that you do, even more that you do, right? That means that you're then valuable, right? You're worthy of something. So you mean something, right? I'd never gone through the whole process knowing who the hell I was. I didn't know. And that's, that's when I left corporate. That's when I went to find myself, right? And I did in lovely Greece. Thank you very much, right? But it was that, I didn't know. And even now, sometimes it's, you still revert back to but who am I? I live a very, very beautiful and, kind of enjoyable life right now. I've never been happier than I am now. But there's still sometimes in the back, it's like, yeah, but who are you really when, you're not project managing multi-million-dollar, projects. And
the money does play into that identity too, because you work harder, you'll make more money, you'll have a better position. And the working harder sucks, and it can contribute to your wanting to leave. But you just know it's been drilled into you, and you see it happen. Yeah. You see it happen. Yeah. I work harder, work a little longer, take on another project. Somebody leaves, I take over their job, and I make more money, or at least make yearly every more money. So
yeah, achievement after achievement after achievement after achievement, right? And when you don't have that pressure anymore, but this is how we've how I grew up. It's like, this is all I knew. So I didn't know any different. So when the pressure is then off, right, and there is nothing to achieve apart from keeping the 2 kids alive, it's kind of like, well, you're a failure, Doris. You know what I mean? Because you're doing way less than what you ever did, right? But actually, now I look at it, keeping the 2 children alive is the most important job, right? I don't want to land my ass in jail, right? So, by neglecting the kids, right? But actually, while I was in corporate, there was some part of that, not neglect deliberately, but neglect in terms of my energy and my attention. The kids just got the last dregs of me.
Yeah.
They didn't get the best of me. The best of my energy went to the freaking company, and the company said, arrivederci, you're off, Yeah. But I spent so much time with them, and so much, it was the longest relationship I'd ever had at 19 years.
Yeah.
Right. And, and it felt really painful. And you had longer, right? 23 years. And it's painful. It feels personal.
You have that this value that you put up in what you're doing in corporate. Yeah. Louise, did you have to, a little bit of an identity crisis when you finally put yourself fully into entrepreneurship, and what was that like?
I probably did have. I mean, at first I must say that I haven't had the same setup as you guys from corporate, because in Spain, you don't make money by being employed. I earn a lot more money now than I ever did as employed. Yes. But I also chose to work part-time because of that reason, what you said, Doris. I had 2 children as well, and I was a single mum, so I had to be there for them as well. So I survived on a part-time salary with 2 young children, only because I live in paradise and the beach is free. So you can make a sandwich and go down the beach with your kids, and it doesn't cost a penny. So I survived.
That would help. Yeah, that would help.
It does help. It does help. So, and I'm not a materialistic person, and neither are my kids, because they couldn't. We went to flea markets. I taught them to barter really early on. Here's a euro. See what you can get for it. Try and get at least 3 things. And stuff like that. So, but when I was made redundant, I didn't start my business then, because that was in 2015, 17. Oh, can't even remember when it was now. I put it all behind me. But I did have to get another job. And getting jobs in Lanzarote isn't actually that easy. Yes, it does help if you are multilingual and can speak, good English and stuff like that. So I hopped between a couple of different jobs, but that was probably more of an identity crisis than anything, because I'd been in that same company for so long. And all of a sudden I had to try all these weird and wonderful jobs that I didn't even know. I didn't know I could do them, but I could do them. Apparently I became a bookkeeper and all sorts of weird things that I wasn't familiar with before. But I didn't really enjoy it because it wasn't jobs that fulfilled me in any kind of way. And I think that slowly then started to grind on me slightly more then, that I thought, what is this and what's it going to be like? Because also the jobs, I jumped from one job to another voluntarily because I found another one which I thought I was going to like better, but I didn't. I think it all kind of boiled down to, again, that I was so uncomfortable in being that position that somebody else owned my time and told me what to do. It sounds like I have an authority problem, but I don't think I do, because I always did what I was told to do.
It's freedom. It's freedom and flexibility too. I think the same way. Like, I wouldn't give up the freedom and the flexibility and the autonomy for that paycheck again. There are things that I miss, but it is like, I don't, and I had other than my last boss, I had phenomenal bosses, at least at my level, going up the chain, not so much, but yeah.
But also to add to that thing about the choices that you actually have, even if you're in corporate and you can make choices like I did. I chose to work part-time because salaries are low here anyway. And I always said, if I had to go and work full-time, I'd rather go back home to Sweden and earn proper money, because you would never earn decent money here, even if you put your 40 hours in a week. And I didn't want to sacrifice even more of my time to those businesses that paid you pittance. But I remember every day I finished at 1 o'clock in the office and I said goodbye to my colleagues. And quite often they would say, "Oh, you lucky so-and-so." And I always used to turn around and say, "Do you want to swap wallets?" Because you're sitting here for another 4 hours, but you're also earning more money than me. But this is a choice that I have made so that I know that I can be at home in the afternoon when my kids come back from school.
And most people choose, I know I did, I chose the money. David, tell us a little bit about, you moved to another country and then you are now working with your wife in a very 100% entrepreneurial. What was that adjustment like for you? I mean, you came from oil and gas, right? You're, just doing hands-on, graphic design and stuff.
Well, I was doing a lot of that, but the switch from corporate into entrepreneurship was it was a little rough for me. I'm not gonna lie. It was not understanding what Heidi intuitively has done for years, and she, pulled me across the finish line, kicking and screaming.
Good job.
So it was a little tough. It took me a good 4 years to actually commit and start thinking as an entrepreneur so that I could help her. I think that's the big thing, is wanting to help, and how do I help? And that was a lot of my journey, is how do I help an entrepreneur that knows what she wants and sees the goal, and how do I take my skills and apply those to a new situation that I have no idea how to do. And so it's just about doing and learning is what it comes down to. So
it's definitely a journey.
Yes. And the journey keeps going. I mean, it just keeps learning and going, doing this. Oh, that didn't work. Let's do this. And I think that's the big thing too, is learning to find the solution for the answer, the solution for the answer of what you're trying to do. So,
Haleh, what about you? What's been the biggest hardest thing for you to adjust to, or have you had to adjust?
Yes, the financial, as we all talk about, adjusting with the financial, because I was making good money. But more than that was that the sales, I hated getting money. And I would not listen to anyone about money and the saving. And I had at that time a really bad relationship with money because of it has a story of its own. But I did everything and the well-being for free for everyone. And now to transition that into an offer and getting paid for it, that was the most challenging skill set I had to learn and invest, even invest in the coaching and all of that, because it's not comfortable. It wasn't comfortable to, that was, I would say, is the biggest, because I want to be, I'm the type literally to just get off the grid, build community, and just live like that. And don't barter. I go back, the more we're moving towards AI, the more I move back to how it was. And that was the most challenging. And there's still times that I'm like, you know what? That off the grid is really close. So
That's an honest answer, Haleh, because I mean, everybody's different, but I know for me, the worst part of not working in corporate is having to deal with sales and marketing. That's just, yuck. So, Julie, what did you have an adjustment period, and if so, what were some of the difficulties or challenges for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're sort of constant, but once you get over them, you're just like, yeah, I've done that. Yeah, I've done that. Oh my God, I've done that as well. So I'd probably say I went on an entrepreneurship course 2 years ago. And at the end, we were offered to pitch, and people were saying, oh, I can't make that day. Oh, I can't be there. And I was just like, I'm doing it. And it was just like, I don't want to do it. But oh my God, I'm doing it. And my competitor was in the room. And I was just like, oh my God. And while I was sat waiting, my watch went off saying, are you okay? Your heart rate's quite high. But then since then, early this year, I was a live TV host. I was a guest first last year. And then they asked me if I want to be a host. I was like, hell yeah. Why did I say yes to that? So it's almost like once you challenge yourself a little bit. So I always say, I don't like fake it till you make it. That gives me that, oh. But I don't mind, I'm not like, be scared and do it anyway. Because if it feels good in your stomach, is just do it, because it's opportunities you might not get again. So yeah, what the hell? What's the worst that could happen? Might end on stage, I don't know.
Absolutely. Well, I love it. So I want to kind of end on a little bit more of a positive note, because we've talked about, even though some of us liked corporate for a while, and probably we all got something out of it, but it was a challenge. But let's end on a positive note for anybody out there who's like, I don't know, I want to leave, but I can't. So let's talk about what is the best thing about being an entrepreneur. Yes, there are challenges, but what's the best thing about being your own boss or about being an entrepreneur? And I'm going to start with Doris.
The freedom to do things the way I want to do them. And not,
Here.
Yeah, and not having to do, PowerPoints and making sure that all the corky dots are all in line.
Right,
one is slightly out with the right font size and the right colors, and I can have bright pink in it now. That is the freedom. Not even just from that perspective, but freedom in how I structure my day or my week. How I want to talk to people, and the freedom to experiment as well. Like kind of what you say, Julie. Oh, that feels a bit uncomfortable. But I'm going to do it anyway, because I'm doing it for me, not for a boss who can then berate me because I didn't get the result that they expected or whatever else, right? I'm so more about, it sounds kind of selfish when I say it in my head, but it isn't. It's all about real growth for me, because what I'm doing now is all for me, right? Yes, I none of us particularly love the sales, but actually I love having the conversations. But the actual sales and marketing, I'm like, yeah, do you know what? Could someone else just do that for me? But it's that kind of flexibility to do anything, however, wherever, or not, as the case may be. So that is the most awesome thing, and there's no way I could go back to corporate. I think I'd get sacked within 3 minutes with me opening my mouth. I think I'd get sacked. Don't say that again.
They don't want us, right? Somebody said, I don't know who said it. I don't think they want us back. Haleh, what is the best thing about being an entrepreneur, being your own boss?
Thank you. On top of that, Doris, that you get your well-being back. To be they said whatever is your passion and you step in doing it, you'll be amazed that everything will get aligned. Your health, your finances, everything. You're living the life that you came here to live. You're actually living. So yes.
100%. I love that. David, what do you think is, now that you've adjusted and what do you think is the best thing about being an entrepreneur and being your own boss?
Well, I think it was when we had the big storm in Portugal. Power went out for weeks at a time, and we had some friends that were out of power for the couple of weeks, and they needed to come over because we had power where we lived, and they live in a smaller village, not too far from us. But it was that freedom to say, you know what, we're not going to work today. We're going to take care of you guys because you need us right now. I think that was probably a big eye opener for me, is to be able to take that time off because I can, to help somebody else. And that was just really, that was something I felt that day. And so, yeah, that's my biggest thing. Yeah.
Yeah. It plays into that freedom and flexibility. And I love that too. Julie, what do you think is the best thing about being an entrepreneur?
I'm going to say opportunities, because would we all be on this if we were in corporate? Would somebody tune into this? So, last week, I was on a photo shoot, as a model with 3 other very varied aged background women, and I met a countess. And after this, I'm heading to The Hague for a book launch. Where I'm in a book. I was interviewed with other women going through changes of being entrepreneurs. Would they have interviewed me in corporate? Possibly not. And like I said, I agree with everybody else. I'm not employable anymore, which is fine by me.
Yeah, no, they wouldn't. I think that at best in corporate, I think I got a certificate for completing a leadership class that really wasn't that. That's pretty much what you get. Louise, what is the best thing about being an entrepreneur and being your own boss, other than the beach?
Other than the beach, don't go to the beach now. I haven't got time. I went to the beach more often than before. But no, I agree with everything that everybody else said. Obviously, the freedom, the flexibility, the way I schedule my days, etc. But another thing that I would say is the realization about how bloody good I am at things, because it's a bit like, oh, I've done that, and I'm doing this, and I'm on podcasts, and like you said as well, Julie, you get to meet all these fantastic people, and the more you do it, the more you feel like, I really know something. I really know these stuff. And I have built a business. I have built a business that supports me and my 2 adult children at the moment, and my 3 cats for that matter. So I've done all that in just 5 years. And so I'm bloody good. And I think that feeling of, did I ever feel like that when I was in corporate? Oh, I'm so good. Not really.
Fantastic. Everything that everybody said, the only thing that I could even possibly add would be naps. I just the ability to take naps is like, but it's just kind of that freedom and flexibility. And I don't know, I don't have kids, but I've got dogs, and even as annoying as she can be, it's just nice to be able to be there for her and just do whatever I want. So I love it. Doris, Louise, David, Haleh, and Julie, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story, your corporate journey story, and being a part of this very first panel. Next year, like I said, we are going to be doing a lot more panels. So, but this is a great way to wrap up. This is the last show of season 2 of The Thirsty Professional. I so appreciate all of you sharing your good, bad, and ugly experience, and bringing that wisdom and insight to our audience. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah. All right, folks. This is it for season 2. Next year, we're going to be back, and there will be more panels. We're going to have a lot of fun with The Thirsty Professional. I'm going to have panels on humor in business, confidence, money mindset, inspired by my conversation last week with Tracy Irwin. I'm going to do a woo panel, and podcasting, and authors and ghostwriters, and speaking, and event hosting, and networking. Oh my. Any ideas, send them my way. I'll throw them in the comments. Thank you to the amazing audience out there who has tuned in. I appreciate you more than I can express. You just bring an energy to this podcast that fills my cup every week. If anybody's out there watching on LinkedIn, please connect with all of my guests if you are not already. They're amazing. If you're on YouTube, a like and subscribe, always appreciated. If you have any questions, feedback, comments that we didn't get to, leave them in the comments, or you can DM one of us if you have a question. And then congratulate yourself for getting real about your career, your purpose, and your passion. So now, Miss Hattie Arbuckle, my amazing panel guest, and I are going to bid you a fond farewell until next year. Take it easy.
So fill your cup, let's have a chat about careers, life, and all of that.
Well, that was fun.